Welcome. I bid you welcome, John Clauser, Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad, coming to you from my music corner of the world. Welcome to another edition of Mortification Monday. And today we talk about the live album that came out in 2000, 10 years live, not dead. Okay. So they are celebrating their 10th anniversary. Um, and this album was recorded October 1st of 1999 at the Black Stump Festival, Appin, North Southwest Australia. Produced by Mark McCormick, who'd been producing the last couple of albums. Troy Dumeyer, there's a yeah, I think I've shown this before. He painted this and would do a couple of other covers for Mortification. So here up in this corner, you got Doug Van Pelt there with Steve um, Steve and his wife Kate and his young son Leighton. Um, this is a recorded at the same place that Live Planetarium was recorded at. This would be the last album released through Metal Blade in here in the States. Um, this would still be released on Nuclear Blast throughout Europe. And I mentioned last week when I was talking about Hammer of God, this also appears on this CD as well as a separate disc. As This album has not gotten a vinyl release. Um, I think this and Live Planetarium, Live Humanitarian, I think are the only two that have yet to get a live release that got like an official CD release. So, hey, keep our fingers crossed, right? Let's get into the tracks. This album in Steve's book, he doesn't really talk much about this particular recording. Um, 2000, eventually after this album would come out, Keith Bannister, who had been basically the MVP for Steve throughout most of the 90s, between being on the road and at Row Productions, he had just gotten married. And my guess is that he kind of wanted to focus on family for a while. So, like I said, he doesn't really go into that. Keith, I'd love to have you on the show and we could talk about it. That would be kind of cool. But anyway, let's get into the tracks. First track up um, is a new song called Dead Man Walking. This song would not see a studio release until a few albums later on the Erasing the Goblin album. It would see there was actually two. When I get to that, you'll see that there's a couple different versions of that, and that's a really good fast stomper, good groove, good moshable song. Goes into Buried into Obscurity from the Envision Evangeline album. This song just comes to life live. It's like you just hear Steve just being triumphant when he yells, buried, or even in the end of the song when he says, raised into eternity. It's like it's triumphant and the song just comes to life. It's just has so much energy. Love that. Love the version that's on this album. Next up, he does the medley that was recorded for the Hammer of God album, and this would incorporate a song from the first four albums by Mortification. So this you get Lymphosarcoma, which was on Scrolls, Destroyer Beholds, which is on the first album, Dishonest Priest, which is on the post momentary lapse of reason. Whew. Yeah, post momentary affliction. Woo! And Love Song, which is on Blood World. Woo! Again, very spirited, very energetic. Steve's not doing the deep growling vocals that you would hear on the originals. He doesn't do a whole lot of that on this album, on this live performance. Maybe it just wasn't something he was really able to do a lot. Again, he's 3 years removed from all of the cancer things, and there's just a lot of other issues that he's had. I know when he was performing that they would do a couple songs, he'd sit down for a little bit, maybe talk a little bit, try to either sit, play sitting down or then get back up again to stand. But, so he's not really like, he's certainly not moving around a lot or anything like that. So he's probably conserving his oxygen as best as he can. After the medley, they go into the song from which was actually released as a single for from Hammer of God, the song Martyrs. Of course, that's a song talking about the different stories of the persecuted Christians throughout the world. Peace in the Galaxies next up. This is also from Envision Evangeline. Again, another very spirited version here. Hammer of God, the title track from the latest album, is up next. Again, comes to life live, maybe a little slower than the original, but it's still very spirited, very heavy. Definitely something I can mosh to. Influence, the one song from Triumph of Mercy. And I've always loved Influence, and I love the live version here. Again, you just feel Steve's joy in this song, and it's just I don't know how to describe it, but I just love the joyfulness I hear in this song, and this version really comes to life. Then Steve sits down, talks a little bit, and thanks Metal Blade and Nuclear Blast and a few other folks, and talks about Doug Van Pelt from Heaven's Metal, which then leads into the song he co-wrote with Steve, Mephibosheth, and that's of course from Primitive Rhythm Machine. Chapel of Hope comes up next. That's also from A Vision Evangeline. This song means a lot to Steve personally, and he would talk about that throughout before the song. The last full real song here is Liberal Mediocrity from Hammer of God. This is, of course, the song where we just have to get back to the basics of teaching the Bible and talking about the Bible, and and not giving into political correctness, because the Bible certainly doesn't have any of that now, does it? Of course, that's the song Lincoln Bowen, the guitar player here at the time, had written. So this CD marks the end of that era with Lincoln and Keith Bannister on drums. Um, the last song being God Rules, the ending song, um, and then Steve goes into just basically a Jesus chant here at the end where they title the song King of Kings, and that ends the set. So um, again, I this album was just whoops, wrong one. This album I loved listening to this so much. This I always suggest if you need a place to start with Mortification, I sometimes would almost go to the live albums maybe. Maybe look to this one. Maybe look to Live Planetarium, Live Humanitarian. Those three albums really they represent each era very well. So and then there's other compilations out there, like I mentioned, like the best of 5 years, and then there's others that are going to pop up along the way. Um, Worthwhile to check out. Um, but if anything, start from the beginning. Start from the debut album. Start with the Light Force stuff if you want to be able to go back that far. Keep plugging through each album and see see what winds up being your favorite as you go along. You know. Next week we're going to talk about the Silver Cord is Severed. That would feature new drummer Adam Zavarisi. I hope I got his name correct. He's the son of uh, another Australian band, Rosanna's Raiders. He was a son to, I believe his name was Jono Zaffarisi. So we'll be talking about that album. And yeah, we'll just keep on going. So like, share, subscribe. I hope for all of you who are checking out the Mortification Monday series, I hope you're enjoying this. I just love talking, just kind of basically just talking about these albums just a little bit. All right. So let me know what you think about it. We'll talk to you next week for Silver Cord is Severed. Until then, Johnny Metal, John Clouser, the Metal Dad saying rock forever, y'all, and we'll see you soon.